How's it going, you guys? So in this lovely video, what we're going to be doing is explaining about how Canvas and UI elements work. So in here we have two characters. They're just simple capsule characters right now. And we need to make a health bar on both sides of the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click. We're going to go down here to UI. Then we're going to scroll down to Canvas. Now, if you don't already have any UI elements, another option of what you could do is you could just right click on UI and create an image, and that'll automatically create a canvas for you. If you have multiple canvas items in your scene and you do that, it will not create a canvas. Instead, it'll just put it in one of the canvases you already have inside your scene. So one of the first things you need to do is, if you are on free aspect, this doesn't actually have any screen resolutions or anything like that. And this becomes kind of a problem when we come here, and I'm just going to put in text. We will put in, there it goes. So we're going to make this fairly large. I'm thinking something like that. We're actually going to go ahead and do an overflow on the horizontal overflow. And we'll do the same thing for the vertical. And I'll explain what those are here in just a minute. And we actually want this text up here in the top corner. And I will explain what's going on here in just a second. So you can see that this looks perfect. This is awesome UI. We're ready to ship it out. Well, no, you're not. Because as we can see, when the screen size starts changing, well, now this isn't staying put. So we could mess with the anchors, and that would help out a little bit. So if I position it up here and I move, well, now we can see the text is going across, but what happens when we do this, and it's also the same if we were to be able to bring this down and bring it down and up, the text is only anchored to a certain position. So normally anytime I'm dealing with UI elements, I like to actually stick with set screen size. In this case, I'm going to just use Full HD 1920 by 1080 because that is the standard size for everything. And we can see it now, new text is super small. So what's going on here is, before on the free aspect, it was taking in whatever camera size that was readily available rendered by the camera, and it was doing an output of what it saw through the UI. By us specifying what the size is, now it's saying, okay, this is the size of the canvas we're going to work on. We don't care about what the camera, well, I think it does care about what the camera sees, but it's basically using this canvas size for its settings. And it comes into a question, well, what if the user has a different resolution, say 640 by 480? Well, now the text is super huge. Is there a way to dynamically change that? And the answer is yes. So we're going to stick with this 1920 by 1080. We're going to make the text fairly large, and we'll go ahead and leave it like that for now. We're going to click on Canvas. And on the canvas, we have this canvas scaler, and it's set to constant pixel size, which is fine. But if you want to dynamically change, we need to drop this down, scale with screen size, and for our X, we're going to do 1920, and our Y will be 1080. And we will want to match the width. We can match the height, and that's absolutely fine, but generally, when you're dealing with screen sizes, you always want to match the width. So nothing's changed, and you're probably wondering, well, what was the point of that? Well, now if we go back to free aspect, we can actually see our text dynamically changing up here. And the really cool thing about this is that it doesn't matter what aspect ratio the users use it. We can see the text is about this size right here, and when we go back to Full HD, it's still the same size. So it will look different inside of this window, but you can bet that whenever they put it on their monitor, on their system, the way it looks right here within this window is what they're going to see. And now you might be wondering, well, how can I verify that that is correct? Well, if we go to 1 times and we come up over here, this is how it's going to look whenever it's on their monitor, or whenever it's on a 1080 monitor in general. So that is how you can change the size of the text. The next thing I want to talk about is horizontal overflow and vertical overflow. So if we come over here, and I'm actually going to press the letter T, we can see this box right here. And this box is actually what the text is inside of. So if I put both of these back as wrap means it'll hit here and then it'll go to the next line. If I change this to truncate, that means it will not display anything until it has enough of a volume to display. So if I move this over just a little bit and then I start moving this down, we see the new pop up and we see the text pop up. And depending on what you have this set on, it can give you different results. Of course, these right here align by it aligns the text object itself. And then the last thing I want to talk about are the anchors. So having the anchors over here means this will always be positioned like whatever this changes, whatever this screen right here changes, or this canvas specifically changes to, it will always be anchored up here to the top left. So no matter what screen size we go to, it's always going to stay up there at the left. It doesn't care what size the screen is. That is its home, that is its position, that is where it will stay till the end of time. And the last thing I want to bring out, this is a regular text component. And that might be fine until you start realizing that if you're dealing with, say, a 34 size font, still looks fine. This is 1/10 of what it will look like. So this is actually how the text will look. We can start to see that this is looking blurry. Let's zoom in. That's definitely looking blurry. That's at 2x. And you'll start to see that the more and more that we start messing with this. Now you don't really see it on these larger font sizes. There we go. So you don't really see it much on these larger font sizes. It's just when it's a smaller font size. So there is a way to fix that, and it is Text Mesh Pro. So we can see that we have Text Mesh Pro already in here. I don't know if I have imported or not, so text, and we actually want to go from project to Unity registry, and we'll just wait for it to populate this list right here. There we go. And if we scroll down to the T's, we'll see Text Mesh Pro, and we'll see that because it says remove, that means it has been installed for this current build. So now it's a question of, well, where is Text Mesh Pro? So what we can do is let's go ahead and just create a Text Mesh Pro. I've never been able to do it this way, but we're going to try it. Actually, an easier way to do this. Let's just right click on the canvas UI, and we'll just do Text Mesh Pro this way. And let's go ahead and import everything. And so it'll go through all the shader stuff and everything like that. While this is importing, that was actually fairly quick. Let's go ahead and import the examples and extras. So while this is importing, is what I'm going to explain right here is that this is just as it sounds. It's a type of mesh. It's actually vector graphics, more or less. And basically anything that you input right here, it has to have mesh for. So if I go ahead and make this the same color, which is 32, 32, 32, I don't know why I did that 8 times, but I did. I'm actually going to anchor it up here, same way that we did before, but I'm going to put it underneath here, and I believe we did 36 for this one, 32, okay. So this is Liberation Sands, and it's very similar. It's actually extremely similar. But if we zoom in, we can already see the difference. See how sharp this is, and we can compare it to that. But now here's where it comes into the fun stuff. I can't remember what the... Here we go. So some of these characters are importing. Some of them may or may not, but I was hoping to find a character that would import right here. Like you'd see it pop up over here, but nothing would happen over here. So I'm just going to jump right on in and explain what I'm doing. So we have this font right here. I'm going to click on Update Texture Atlas, and I'm actually going to change this from Unicode range to should be custom characters. So, oh wow, this character list is completely blank. Alright, well this is actually a terrible example, but we can definitely see the characters right here, so I guess I can just use that. So we see a lot of these characters right here, and these are actually generated by the font atlas. And all these characters that are in here, these are all the characters that can render. So if you happen to have, say, Japanese letters or Chinese letters, those will not render. But we can have these weird U shapes or these weird O shapes. Those will render out just fine. And this basically just means that if you have certain letters or like you're trying to do basic translations, those may or may not render out properly. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. If you are going to use Text Mesh Pro, just keep in mind that anything that has a text field will use Text Mesh Pro. Everything else, like image, raw image, or whatever, those will not. And so that is how you do dynamic changing. That's also a little extra on this tutorial, and so I'm hoping this helps you out. Huge shout out to my friend Kenneth, because I know he's doing an awesome job on his game. But until next time, I shall talk to y'all later.